Welcome to the very first inaugural episode of Unfuck Your Fitness
Yeah.
with Brandon and Emily.
Hmm.
So this has been a long time in the making, dude. We have actually talked about doing this for a long time and never done it, and now we're gonna really do it. You understand that, right? Like we're gonna actually do it now.
We're doing it. Um, so, introductions. I am Emily Enan. I am the owner and head coach of Body Freedom Coaching, which is an all virtual fitness, wellness, nutrition, etc. coaching platform. And
That's it. That's what you're gonna give them.
yeah.
Okay, I'll talk better about you. She has a background in occupational therapy assistant. She's worked with clients from performance athletics to weight loss to strength training in a both personal and virtual setting. She's an all around just badass. She's a badass
You
female.
introduce me all the time.
Yeah, bodybuilding shows. I mean, what haven't you done, right? Brandon Green, owner operator of Pulse Fitness, have been in the industry for 20 plus years now, doing everything from training athletics to high performance athletes to weight loss to major weight loss, which is what we're going to talk about today because I think it's where we have to start. Working with clients at 500, 600, 700 pounds to 200, 300, 400 pound weight loss, and working with those looking to lose 5 pounds and keep it off and do it the right way. So, without further ado, I think we jump into weight loss. I mean, God, what a topic to start with right out of the gate, right?
Yeah. I feel like that's probably top 95% of people who walk into Pulse and tell you their goals. They tell you weight loss right away, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of changed over the years. 15, 20 years ago, yes, I think it was pretty much 3 out of 4 people that walked in the door wanted to make some kind of body modification change.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say I'm reluctant to that goal, I'm nervous when I hear it from somebody. But the reality is that most people that try to lose weight are not successful, and I think they can be. And sometimes I think it's more important to understand why. But post COVID, most of the people that walked into gyms across this country, not just mine, they just wanted to feel better, right? And I think as a wellness perspective, it's such that's a long term goal. Weight loss typically has a finish line, right? Like I want to hit this weight and then I'm done. Versus like I want to be well, that never has an ending. So but weight loss could be a part of that wellness goal. Like, yeah, I want to lose a little bit of weight, but I want to feel good. I want to be in control of my health. And I think those things, more lifestyle based goals, were kept people a little bit more acclimated to it. But yes, more recently, it's shifted straight back to 3 out of 4 people that walk in the door. When I sit down with them and talk about goals, it's I want to lose weight. How about you?
Yeah, I feel like most of the clients that come to me, definitely like 95% of them, they tell me they want weight loss or I hear toning.
Right.
And I know all of us in the fitness industry hate that word. We hate toning.
Listen to me. If you're listening to me right now and you're going to join a gym, don't go in and say you want to work on toning. Don't do it. Just don't.
Yeah. So what they mean is that they want to lose body fat and maintain or gain body muscle, which is always kind of what I will go through with them right away is, when you say you want that toned look, you want to build muscle underneath so that when you lose that body fat, you have some shape to your body. You have that muscular definition. That's what they mean when they say toning, which we know how to read between the lines.
Well, it's what you know. It's because you're intelligent. But a lot of people, they just
aren't intelligent.
They walk in. You are intelligent. I'll give you that one right now. There'll be more coming. We had a whole discussion to start this. If I asked her if she was okay with her hair going on, are you sure you don't want to recheck it? Are you good? Oh, this is my workout pony. It's all good. It's okay. You just wear a hat. Hey, if you just wear a hat every day, you never have to worry about it. Mm-hmm. But no, I think a lot of people don't really understand. When they say toning, I think what their version of it could be completely different than walking into a gym that, let's be honest, the people that they're meeting with are salespeople. They may not have a health and wellness background with what that really means. And I think getting into the why is probably the single most important point when it comes to weight loss training. So I do a process I call qualifying people for weight loss, where when they say, I want to lose weight, I'll be like, great, how much? I don't know, or 20 pounds. All right, why 20 pounds? Where did that number come from? All right, we're 20 pounds lighter. It's, 3-4 months down the road. You've made X, Y, and Z changes, whatever. Tell me how your life's different outside the gym. And how are you measuring progress past that? So, okay, you've lost the 20 pounds. And was that 20 pounds all body fat? Was it weight how did we lose that weight? I think the more we can better understand when somebody says, I want to lose weight, I think the better we have a chance of helping them being successful. I always try to teach trainers, like when someone says, I need to lose weight, I want to lose weight, and I'm going to lose weight, when you ask them what your goal is, are three completely different responses. So really understanding why they want to lose weight is, and as you've experienced, on an online coaching, it's probably the most important part, is really understanding why they want to lose weight and how it's going to change their life, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's important for people to understand the why deeper than just for aesthetic goals as well. Which, I think it's okay. I think it's completely okay to want to lose body fat and look a certain way. If your goal is strictly aesthetic, that's okay if that's really your goal. But I think that for a lot of people it isn't. And it's, we have to dig a little bit to get to more of that like deeper reasoning, because that's going to be what's going to keep them pushing through a little bit longer. And it's going to keep them more engaged and more like motivated or disciplined to reach that goal. Because if it's just about the way they look, that's usually not important enough in their lives to keep them pushing through when it gets hard, when it gets tough.
Right. Oh, you're right on. Perfect. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, you want to look at it both from an aesthetic purpose, right? And like feeling good in your self-esteem and self-esteem, but also looking at it from a clinical perspective. Like, what weight are we taking off? Because not all weight is created equal, and if you just starve yourself and exercise, you'll lose weight. You won't keep it off. In 20 years, I've never seen a diet plan that works. I mean, that sounds dramatic, but we say like diet as in lifestyle, like how I eat is my diet, not diet as in restriction. Right. Obviously, if somebody's looking to make a massive journey along weight loss, nutrition has to be involved, even in a smaller one. But if you're not really understanding like why they want to lose weight, what if you just felt better? Well, yeah, I really wouldn't care what the scale said if I felt better about myself. Great. Now we're getting somewhere specific, because we can change body composition long before we're dropping massive pounds on the scale. And if they felt better about themselves, in their mind, that's what they meant by lose weight. Like, okay, well, every pound off your body in pure body fat, aesthetically, you appear 3 pounds lighter. So you lose 10 pounds of true body fat, you're going to look 30 pounds lighter. So when they say, I want to lose 30 pounds, maybe what they mean is I want to look 30 pounds lighter. I think especially in females, they're like, oh, certain genetic styles, women will always say, oh, people are very surprised when they find out what I weigh. I weigh a lot more than what I look like. Well, that's your genetics. But if you're basing like, well, I need to be 120 pounds because I'm 5'4". I mean, we know BMI is not a great way to look at individuals. It's great from a clinical perspective, to look at the country as a whole or trends as far as weight's concerned. But when we're looking at people individually, I always say like there's a number clinically, like this is the number that we know is healthy. There is no visceral fat. There is no subcutaneous belly fat. You're at a healthy range. And I think for a lot of females, especially, that number may be higher than what they think to be quote unquote, I don't like this word, but like healthy, right?
Right.
But let's say that says clinically I'm where I need to be, but I don't feel good until I'm here. In my mind, you're not healthy till you're here. Because if you don't feel good about who you are and the way you look, you're not healthy. It's bigger than just the body, right? The mind has to come into play.
Yeah. And I think something that I always will remind people is your goal body, like the way you want to look, your goal body, the way you want to feel, chances are it is a higher number on a scale than you think it is. Like you might have this number in your head, but truly it's going to be a higher number, especially if you're somebody who wants to get into like body recomp. Putting on that muscle is going to weigh more than the fat, and putting more muscle on your body, like you might actually see a higher scale number or weight, but you're looking at pictures of yourself and you're fitting into your clothes a different way. And that is actually what your goal was versus that number on a scale.
Right. And I think that's beautiful, because we can jump right into like strength training, because that's exercise associated with weight loss. Right. Yeah. But I think a lot of women, especially, and men are not as scared to do strength training. They're like, oh, if I put on some muscle, great. What do women tell me every single, I don't want to be big, right? I don't want to lift weights because I don't want to gain, I don't want to be bulky. And this, but it's because we've tried to explain it, and it's our fault in the fitness industry. It's our fault, but we say muscle weighs more than fat. And so people think poundage versus density, like 5 pounds of body fat versus 5 pounds of muscle. Yeah. But if pounds of feathers and a pound of bowling balls, they weigh the same thing. The density is different. Right. But if you shrunk during that process, you're not going to give a shit what the scale says. You're like, damn, look at me, I feel good, but I'm only down 2 pounds. Now they think something's wrong with them. Where no, you've actually fueled your weight loss with the proper style of exercise and nutrition that you need to live your version of healthy, right?
And I think it's like there's also, especially for women, like this misconstruation of what, or like how difficult it actually is to build all that muscle. Like they're like, I don't want to lift weights because I don't want to look a certain way. I don't want to get super bulky. And it's like, dude, I'm telling you, from someone who does want to get that bulky, it isn't that easy. Like it's just, I love to use like car analogies. They're always my favorite for everything, is like comparing it to a car. And it's like the analogy I've read where it's like, I don't want to be a race car driver, so I'm not going to, go over 20 miles in my car. And it's like, that's not how it happens. So it's just like, they don't realize how much work goes into actually like building muscle a certain way. And they don't realize that like just pushing yourself really hard in strength training is actually how you're going to like lose fat better. And you're not just going to suddenly bulk up and look like this, crazy, bulky bodybuilder thing that you don't want to look like. Like that's not going to happen without very, very, very hard, specific work. And if you're not trying to do it, you're not going to do it. It's not just going to happen accidentally.
Right. But look at fucking social media. Look at it's our fault. It's the fitness industry. And I'm not picking on you. You've done a bodybuilding show, but people come into the gym and they think I need to live like a bodybuilder to be healthy. I need to look and eat, and I got to meal prep, and I got to take these supplements. And that's the only way that's healthy. It's gotten a little better over the last 5 to 10 years.
Bodybuilder isn't healthy.
Easy. It depends on the person. It depends on the person. I agree with you, but I would agree with you for somebody that says, I just want to live a healthier life. I want to lose a few pounds. For them to come in and think they need to train and eat like a bodybuilder to do so. Yes, that will work. Absolutely. You're creating a deficit. You're training at a high level. That will work. But for most people, it will not work within their lifestyles. So what the fuck's the point then? Right? Like if you can't sustain the results, why the hell go through the hell to get there? And that's, training a lot of pro bodybuilders in my years. And, I've had mixed results long-term with all of them, from NPC world to the natural world, both at a pro level. Some people are very passionate about it. I love it. And I know why they're bodybuilders, but those that think I have to live that to be healthy is typically those that really feel that the lifestyle's not sustainable because it is.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think that that's such an extreme, like that's going into the extreme of things. And I think that's what scares people away from trying to, lift heavier weights or put on a little bit of muscle, because they think they have to go that extreme. And it's like, you don't have to be extreme. You just have to be consistent. You just have to make sustainable changes that you can actually sustain over the rest of your life. And that's what's going to make those changes, not some crazy extreme thing. Yes, if you're stepping on a stage, you need to get extreme. But if you're not, you shouldn't get extreme, because that's how you're going to burn out. That's how you're going to put too much stress on your body. And it's going to be
I think for most people, because I think some people are light switches. Like some people, they need the extreme. I got people that are in the gym 7 days a week and they will never train. What are the goals when somebody walks in? I want to do a bodybuilding show, I want to run a marathon, or I'm going to do a powerlifting meet, right? And it's like, when I hear that, why? I want to know why. And if it's truly your goal, let's freaking go for it. But that's very extreme training, and you're struggling to get in the gym 1 to twice a week, and you're seeing results coming in once and twice a week, but not what you originally thought your goal was. Well, I'm not running 10 miles by now. No, but your pulmonary capacity is healthy. Your resting heart rate is healthy. You've lost some weight. You've increased some strength. Your conditioning's higher. You're quote unquote healthier, but those aren't the metrics that you're tracking. But so do you program strength training you train a lot of women, and a lot of women geared towards weight loss.
Mostly.
Do you program the majority of them with some form of strength training?
Every single one of them.
Every single one of them. Okay.
Yes, every single one of them. I'm never going to have a woman come to me and say that she wants to make a body compositional change, whether that be fat loss, muscle gain, tone, whatever they're telling me. I'm never going to be like, great, jump on a treadmill every day. That isn't the way. And studies have shown, especially, a lot of my current clients are older women, and studies are showing that resistance training is the way to go, and that actually doing too much cardio is going to have an adverse effect. It's going to spike up their cortisol, which is their stress hormone, and that's where you're going to pack in that abdominal fat, and that's the area that most older women hold weight, and that's because their cortisol is too high. And if you just push them into a ton of cardio, you're just making the problem worse.
I think explaining too, like okay, well, if this is a deficit I need to create, I can create it 3 times faster having you do strength training than I can cardiovascular. So would you like to be in the gym less or more? And I think empowering people to the decision of like, this is why I'm prescribing this. This is why I think it's most effective for you. I'll put myself right out there. I've had some people where I just scratch my fucking head, where I'll program something out 2-3 months. They're even working with trainers, strict strength training. I know what they're eating. I know the way they're exercising. It is proper. And they're losing minimal weight. And next thing you know, we run a cardio challenge, and they're not even doing extreme, but they're doing consistent cardio. They drop 10 pounds like this. And it's not muscle mass. But their genetics, their body style, it's not most people. But we have some people where their bodies, just certain genetic types, especially that endo/meso, it's just like they tend to respond pretty well to cardio. Not all body types, especially, but why do people do cardio? It's because and men, yes. I mean, again, I think but I think it's what people turn to because it's their comfort level, where the weight room is a bunch of bulky guys and I'm scared to go in there intimidating or whatever, but they can go and press go on a treadmill and walk and work up a sweat. But let's talk about the average transition of any person in the United States that joins a gym. It's getting a little better, but still I join a gym. I don't get a lot of coaching. Here's my money. Give me my key. I come in. There's 50 treadmills at all times because treadmills are sexy and that's what sells. And they can come in and press go. They walk for 2 weeks. Their goal was weight loss. They step on a scale 2 weeks later. They haven't lost any weight. They're like, fuck this. I got better things I can spend my money on, my time on. Yeah. Well, it's the money that's holding you accountable. No, it's not. The $40, $50, $60 a month or $10 a month that you're paying to go, you'll just be like, well, I'll go back later. And then it's one time the next week. And then you stop going. The average American goes 10 times a year. So on an annual membership, the average American that has a gym membership goes 10 times a year, and they're spending time doing cardio, where the average American's goal is cardio or is weight loss. But it's just because they don't feel comfortable strength training. And it's just like you said, they think they're going to get bulky, right? Yeah. I'm going to put on muscle mass. I'm going to look like a man, especially for women.
Yeah.
Or the men come in and it's like, I'm going to bench 225 like I did 15 years ago when I was in football. And and they have an injury and then they can't strength train anymore and they stop losing weight.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the treadmill is just such a I feel like it's such an old school way of thinking they need to get in shape. But I have a lot of people where I'm asking them, they want to work out from home. And I'm like, okay, what equipment do you have? And they always go to treadmill first. Like, oh, I have a treadmill. Like, I should be happy or excited for them that they have a treadmill, or I'll get a treadmill. And I was like, I could care less if you have a treadmill. Like, that's literally, I want to know if you have weights. I want to know if you have, resistance bands. I want to know if you have a way to, put some resistance against the muscle. So and I'm not saying like treadmills are bad. I don't want to give that impression. Like, getting movement in through a day is important. And I will always have my clients upping their steps, getting their movement. Like, walking pads are getting really big. And that's great. If you want to stand while you're doing your work and walk, like, to increase your just energy expenditure throughout the day, great. But like, hours of like running on a treadmill, like, so not necessary unless you have a very, very specific goal.
It's, what's unfortunate is people that do that amount of cardio that are trying to live healthier lives. They're actually getting great results from the cardiovascular that they're training, but they're not tracking it. I mean, yes, the watches and technology has gotten a little bit better, but nobody's looking at their pulmonary capacity on a consistent basis. Nobody's looking at, look where my resting was. Look where my high heart rate was. Look how much faster I get back down to recovery because my conditioning is getting better. Look how much better I'm breathing. Look at my hip mobility. I'm not running, but I'm walking consistently on the treadmill. My hips are more mobile. Right. I'm developing a little bit of strength in my quads just because walking I sit behind a desk all day long. So now I'm walking. There's so much, but they're not tracking all that. What are they doing? They're stepping on a fucking scale.
Yeah.
And they haven't lost weight. And they're like, well, didn't work. And it's like, no, we just didn't apply it in the right way. Mm-hmm. And that's, I'm adamant about people working with a coach. Nobody just knows this shit. Like, we didn't know this shit until somebody taught us. Yes, you can read it in the textbook, read all the case studies, have this, high-end education, and that's great until you learn how to apply it and learn it with people. Nobody just knows this. So I think it's people are like, oh, it's so helpful to be education. Honestly, what I'm doing is I'm shooting down objections that you give me when you say why you can't come to the gym. Mm-hmm. Because it's a very real one to say, I don't know what I'm doing. Well, now you do. Now what are you going to give me? Well, I'm uncomfortable. No, you're not. You've met with 5 different trainers here. We have a very strong environment. I keep most of the riffraff out of here. I'm the fucking toughest person in here to deal with. I'm a maniac. You can deal with me. You can deal with anybody, right? Well, I'm not seeing results. Well, we need to change what you're doing. Like, I think it helps people to really take that step when they feel like they have the education to know what that, when people feel comfortable walking in the weight room knowing the form that I'm doing is right and people aren't going to look at me weird.
Yeah.
Right. Here's another like buzz tip for everybody out there listening. This is serious. This is one of the deepest
I
shit
better
you're
know
ever
what
going
it
to hear.
is.
Nobody
Cares.
cares. Nobody fucking cares.
Yep.
Right. And if they do care, it doesn't matter.
Though they
It
don't.
really does. Like if they're watching you, I have a cool story. Can I tell you a story? Good. You're going to listen anyways. Okay.
No,
So I had this, what? I won't use his name because who knows? I trained this guy. This was like 18 years ago. Okay. It was like 500 plus pounds. We had a 250 to 300 pound weight loss goal long term. He was in a clinical setting, so he had the education on himself, knowing about health and that. And he was younger. He was in his 20s. Well, he was financial tough times, so I had to take this guy to Gold's Gym, Fort Myers Beach, because that was one of the gyms where I could keep the cost a little bit lower on people that I trained. Well, you can imagine what Gold's Gym, Fort Myers Beach on a Monday night looks like, right? I mean, we had Olympic lifters in there. We had lots of pro bodybuilders. We had just everybody, right? It was intimidating.
Yeah.
Right. And I would take him in there and I would train the shit out of this guy. I mean, I would work him. I could always tell when he'd get worked up, he'd start looking around the gym, like see who's looking at him. And I'd be like, dude, fucking stop. You're here for you. These people don't matter. He's like, but they're looking at, I said, get over it. Right. So finally I had enough. We were like 6 weeks into training and we were down in the weight room and he'd do his exercise. As soon as he'd start exerting, he'd slow himself down because he was getting embarrassed. And I started yelling, everybody stop, everybody stop what you're doing. Turn the music off. I was like yelling up to the front desk. We had this is great. So we had a very, very high end pro bodybuilder that was winning like huge amount. He was the guy in the gym that everybody, and he was super nice guy. I had knew him personally or I wouldn't have done this.
Yeah.
I said, everybody stop. And I looked at Joe. This is the bodybuilder. And I said, hey, tell him why you look at him when he works out. And immediately my client just, embarrassed as all shit. There's like 50 people in the weight room at this point.
Yeah.
And he said, because he inspires the shit out of me.
Yeah.
He goes, because when I started, I was extremely uncomfortable with my body. He goes, now I know what that feeling is like. And he's having to do more than I am. And he's actually working harder than I am. And it inspires the shit out of me. And I looked at him and said, see, all right, turn the music back on.
It's
but
so true.
that's
what I tell people. Like, I'm like, chances are no one's paying attention to you, but chances are the one person that's looking at you, especially for us females, is because they admire you. Like the girls I'm staring at in the gym, I'm like, damn, look at her ass. How can I look like that? Like,
that's envy.
What I'm looking at, I'm not judging her in any way, like at all. So it's like, I just remind people like no one, chances are they're looking at you because they like what you're doing. They like what you're wearing. They think you're an inspiration, something like that. Like it's just, and it just doesn't fucking matter. Like it doesn't matter what anybody else in the gym is doing. It matters what you're doing. So like put your headphones in, put your head down and like focus on you and like don't worry about who's looking at you because chances are it's just something totally that you don't even realize that's not anything negative.
Well, if that's really the gym that you're in, leave the gym.
Right.
Like leave the gym. If it's really like, no, I'm not, but I feel extremely uncomfortable, you're in the wrong spot. Change the gym. That's how it needs to be. But I always tell people like they have this gym intimidation. Like I'm going to walk in the door, especially in the weight room. Like I'm super scared to go in there. Everybody's going to be in shape and know what they're doing. And I don't. And it's a real thing. But once they get around it and see like, oh, these are all real people. We're all here to do the same thing. Right. Maybe at different levels. But one of my favorite things about especially this facility is that I have very high-end athletes that can come in and train at an extremely high level. And I have people that join this gym in their 50s that have never been in a gym a day in their life. And they can both be in a same room together working out. And that's where you've created a space of comfort. You can train at a high level or you can be learning and both are getting the workout that they need for them, right? Yeah. Where it's not the intimidation factor of, oh, I don't want to scare that person or I don't want to be in there because that person's in there doing something extreme is gone. It's just, we're all here to do the same thing, just at very different levels.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I agree. And I mean, I've got a lot of clients that also work out at home and that's okay. That's always an option too. Some people just can't get past that whole gym intimidation thing, but there's so many just to really advance yourself more, you kind of do eventually need to get into those heavier weights. You need more resistance than you can really get at home. So I feel like once they get to that point, they need to make a choice. They're either going to like get over it and get at a gym so that they can keep progressing at the level they're progressing at, or they need to build a home gym, which I do have a client who did that, and it's awesome. She has like a killer gym and that's what she's comfortable with. But and I think for her,
I have a home gym. I have a gym at my house. Like I have a home gym. It's not, I mean, it's fine. I use both. It's great. There's nothing wrong with either.
And I think it's, and I have some clients where I write them programming for the gym and I write them programming for at home, because sometimes it's more so they just can't get to the gym because of time constraints or kiddos. You know, I have clients that send me video, like their form videos, and their kids are running around in the background. So, you know, there's a lot of different, there's excuses people are going to give to not get it done. And I am just going to give them an answer to everything. Like, you can't make it to the gym, then do it at home. If you don't have the treadmill, go for a walk outside. If you don't have the weights, get some bands and we'll hold and we'll do ISOs. Like, there's so many ways to get around everything. And I just feel like if you have a goal, you're going to make it happen. And if you aren't invested in it, you're going to make an excuse.
Do you want to know why I would never want to be one of your clients?
I have probably a few reasons you don't want to be one of my
Because I know what it's like to argue with you all day long, and you just won't let it go. You just won't let it go. There is, for all the listeners that will listen to this, or the few that will, there is a running debate on Enneagram personality testing, and Emily and I have had a long-term
Enneagrams.
A long-term argument on personality assessments and how they can and cannot change, and how only certain ones are accurate, and that things can influence those.
You know why you're wrong, though?
Tell me why I'm
personality test.
I used it as a, we'll save this for another episode, because I feel like we could probably go for a half an hour on that. What did you say?
I was just going to say with my clients, I always like to tell them, like, I'm going to be annoying. Like, I'll tell them straight up in their consult, I'm going to be annoying, because that's what they need. And I'm not afraid to be obnoxious. So, like, you're going to be doing whatever you're doing, and you're going to be getting a text like, hey, what are you doing? What are you eating? When are you walking?
I'm a coach. That's my job. I'm not a rent-a-buddy.
I'm just
I'm here to coach you. That's my job.
Yeah.
Right. I'm going to help you do the things that you struggle with. That's what a coach, we're going to focus on the weaknesses. I'm not going to focus on your strengths. I'm going to focus on your weaknesses, right? And in weight loss, it's
highlight your strengths, but
highlighting your strengths.
Highlight your strengths.
And then I'm going to whoop the shit out of you. Yep. Well, what portion of your clients do you feel have unrealistic expectations when it comes to weight loss? Like, how much weight can they lose? I deal with that a lot. Like, I want to lose 20 pounds this month, and helping them understand what healthy, sustainable weight loss looks like, and then how they're going to help keep it off. Like, what portion of your clients do you feel have unrealistic goals when they start?
It's a little weird for me. I don't even let my clients get into that. We don't even talk about a number goal. I just don't even go there with them for that reason, that it's usually unrealistic. I think I have a lot of clients that have an unrealistic expectation of what can happen without putting in the work on the nutrition side of things. I have clients that really struggle with macros and with nutrition and with tracking, and they just are stubborn as hell. And that's straight up, that's just the only way they're fucking stubborn. And it's just kind of picking and chipping away at that. So the unrealistic expectations of clients that come to me is the progress they think they're going to have without putting in the nutrition work. And that's something we struggle with a lot, but we don't even go there with numbers. Like, they might have a fat loss goal, but we don't even go there. I keep track of their metrics. I make sure that they get a scale that shows me not only their weight, but also their body fat percentage and their muscle mass. And they send me progress photos, and I kind of handle all that. And we don't really talk about it much. We talk a lot more about how they're feeling, what they're eating, all these things. And I kind of pay attention to the biometrics and the biofeedback on the back side of things.
Yep.
And I try not to even involve them in that a whole lot, unless it's been a while. When we're seeing like a really long, consistent, like over months, then I might say, hey, by the way, and I might bring up some numbers, but usually we don't go there a whole lot because of that reason, because their expectations can be unrealistic. And don't want them to focus on that. I want them to focus on so many other things.
Yeah, and I mean, with weight loss, there has to be a deficit, right? And exercise, so being active in one form or another is going to be a recipe for that. Your fuel load, your intake, what your food looks like is absolutely going to play a role. I don't lie to people. Like I will, especially with couples. I'll sit down with a husband and wife, and I will explain flat out. And if you're a couple and you're listening to this, she's going to be like, "Yeah, that happened." Guys can change very little, still eat like shit, work out really hard, and they will lose some weight. And women can do everything perfectly and not lose a pound. And
Yep.
it's bullshit, right?
Bullshit.
It's hormonal. You're not going to change it. It involves cortisol,
Yep.
estrogen, and testosterone. And that's so with men. I'm explicit. Like, hey, just you need to look at your fuel from a holistic standpoint. Like, how do you want to live? How do you want to perform? How do you want to exercise? And what do you want the longevity of your life to look like? Like, I don't tell people what not to eat and what to eat anymore. We don't use the word good food, bad food. I don't like, it's nutrient dense food. It's heavily processed. It's just food, right? It's fuel. But you can have a deficit in food that's not nutrient dense, lose weight. Is it really going to give you the lifestyle and the look that you want? And that's completely up to you. I think another very interesting point is like when people come in and sit down with me, and I don't know if you get this too, but they're overweight. They feel they're overweight. And, when I talk about goals, well, obviously I need to lose weight. I'm like, what do you mean, obviously? Well, you're the health professional. Aren't you going to tell me I need to lose weight? That's your choice. Or I smoke, and you're going to tell me I need to quit smoking. Are you aware of the risks in smoking? Do you choose to smoke or do you feel like it chooses you? Like that's out of your control. I get it. We want to address that at that point. But for weight loss, like this is an individual choice. Mm-hmm. Yes, we have our clinical settings. Yes, we have our areas that we want to make sure that your health is where, but it's your choice of what that weight loss journey should look like. And so for men, I think it's a lot easier, to be honest. It's just the reality of how we're built because guys, they come in and they put in their time and they work out hard in the gym, especially if they're putting it under load and the body's getting massive amounts of tears, creating that caloric deficit through exercise. Guys, even on not a proper fuel plan, will see some results. I do not lie to them. I tell them flat out, but that's their choice, right? But with women, forget about it. The freaking stars have to be aligned and everything has to be working systematically for not only them to lose that weight, but to sustain that weight loss. And I think you're onto something smart, which we do with our training clients, obviously, because the trainer's in control of it, is we kind of control those metrics. We help them to set those baselines and make those decisions. But I think for the average John Q that walks into the gym and they're like, well, I need to lose weight. And all they're doing is stepping on and seeing that number. And they're dictating whether they're becoming healthy by that or not,
Exactly. And I also feel like, and this is something that I do differently than we did or that you guys do in the gym. At the gym, we were checking metrics once a month, maybe depending on the client and the trainer. Mm-hmm. For me, depending on the client, it's very dependent on the client and where they're at mentally. But if I can get them to comfortably weigh themselves every day, I will. And I know that that's really controversial, but the reason is because there can be such big fluctuations, even day by day, even like yesterday to today, there could be a big change. And if they're only weighing themselves once a month or once a week, even, and they step on the scale and they see that change that maybe is only literally different from overnight because they had a heavy leg day and they're inflamed or they're bloated or it's water weight or it's whatever it might be, that is so triggering to them to say like, it's not working, or I was doing everything right this week and why am I up 1 pound? And I'm like, first of all, 1 or 2 pounds is not something to even consider in your head to what we're doing. But if they see that consistently week by week, if they see those little changes and then they consistently see in a big graph a change, that I think can be so much more helpful, mentally than only checking it once a month. So I think there are positives to seeing and recognizing your metrics, but do it with a coach and do it with somebody who can explain why from yesterday to today you might be up 2 pounds and why that's not a big deal.
Right. Well, I mean, that works for you because you go overboard. You're talking to these people freaking daily, right? Yeah. Because you're Emily. That's just how it works. Like you just all in. I like it. That's why it works. That's why you've been successful, right? But I think for most people, when they don't have that Emily in their ear and they just keep waiting, they think something's wrong, right?
Correct. So if you need to have that coach explain it.
I've made people turn in their scale. Nope. Give me the fucking scale. Nope. You're weighing yourself too much. I have people that would eat 3, 4, weigh themselves 3, 4 times a day. And if they weigh over a certain amount at dinner time, they just won't eat dinner. That's not practical.
No.
You're basing a decision based off misinformation, basically.
Right.
And our body changes 3 or 4 pounds a day depending on who you are. Take a good shit, you're gonna weigh less. It's just how it works. Stay overhydrated, you may weigh a little bit more, but it's water. And I think that's the big part of explaining to people, like, not all weight is created equal. And if it's about, like, circling back to our very first point, if it's about how you feel and how you look, honestly, you really shouldn't have to step on the scale much. You should let a coach do that so that we're looking at the metrics to make sure that you are moving in the right direction based on the prescription that we've given you.
Yep.
Right.
And that's why I think progress photos are probably my favorite metric to look at, or feedback to look at, because it's just so, like, you take those photos and you can just see the changes so much more than this. Like, the scale, I don't even, like, I'll tell people, I don't even care what your numbers are right now. I want you to look at these photos, look at that difference. And that can be really eye-opening, where people are just like, oh my gosh, you're right, I had no idea. And then they see it. And so I just feel like, even if you're not required by a coach or a trainer to take photos, like, do it for yourself, man. Just do it. Put them into a folder on your computer. You don't have to show anybody but yourself, but you're going to want those. And I tell people, when they're at the very beginning of their journey, even if you don't show me as your trainer, I mean, for what I'm doing as an online coach, you're showing me because I need to see it. But in-person training, when you're seeing people, even if they don't want to show you guys, just take the photos for yourself, because you are going to want them, like, in a year, in 2 years, you're going to want to see that change for sure.
Yeah. Back to talking people out of weight loss sometimes. I think weight loss is so baseline, and that sounds bad. It's the first thing we talked about, but it's such a popular topic. But it's been a topic for 40 years. It's going to continue to be a topic. Weight loss is out, but honestly, it's so baseline, because if it's about you being a happier, healthier version of yourself, the number and what you weigh is a portion of that. It is just a metric. How you see yourself is so much more important. It's like, okay, I don't like how I look. Great, let's make a change. And weight loss could be a portion of that. I always say weight loss is like a hammer. You can't build the whole house with it. It's just one of the tools that we use to improve your overall health, the way you see, because how you see yourself is important, right? And I think that's what people just struggle to communicate, or don't have the resources they need to be able to explain it that way, to where they feel safe enough to get proper feedback on, like, I'm not okay. And I'm not happy with where I'm at, and I need to make a change. Great. One of my favorite things to do, and this is, another one of those crazy Brandon isms. I read people. It's what I've done my entire life, but definitely in this industry. And somebody walks in the door, and I can just tell they're intimidated as all shit. Right. And I know, they're probably walking in the door. They're going to tell me weight loss is a goal. They're scared. They're intimidated. I see it on their face. They're walking in, they're giving me the look, and I walk out and I shake their hand. Hey, congratulations, I'm Brandon. And they're like, for what? I said, you made it in. And sometimes that's the hardest part. So, like, you guys you got to start somewhere. It's got to be something that, even if you're not seeing progress, you need to be crazy enough to continue on anyways, because it's doing such great things for your mental health, your physical health. And the scale is just one version of how we look at weight loss as a whole, because weight loss is so much bigger than what you weigh. Right. Yeah. It's when we talk about body comp change, when we talk about self-esteem, self-image, the way we see ourselves, and being resilient, like getting into something that you struggle. You want a place to improve yourself every single day. It's right behind me. Right. This is a constant battle with ourselves. And yes, you're going to see some weight loss progress from that. But you guys, that's baseline. And there's just so much bigger to what an overall healthier you looks like versus just a number on a scale.
Yeah. For sure. All right. Well,
we got to wrap it up.
We're going to wrap it up, but
I'm on a soapbox.
I think
I'm on a soapbox. I got to get off. Here.
Shut up.
Let me get off my soapbox for a minute.
I think after this first episode, we want to leave you with my advice would be, if you are one of those people who is very intimidated, you just don't know where to start, you're nervous about going in the gym, you're nervous about what you need, you're not sure what to do, like, just get the trainer, get the coach, either one, whether it's an in-person trainer or an online coach, get someone who's a professional who can give you some guidance. And it doesn't have to be a forever thing. And it might turn into something where you're like, yes, I actually do need this accountability going forward. I really like this. It's keeping me on track. But maybe it's just in the beginning, you just need the education and to get started. And that's what that person's going to do for you. Like, don't try to go it alone if you are already feeling so nervous and intimidated and scared and lost and stressed and overwhelmed. Like, that's a lot, and it's going to lead you to not following through. So just do the thing, get the coach, get the guidance, and they will step by step, take you through it, baby steps. And it's just going to be a lot more of an enjoyable process for you, instead of trying this and trying that and trying this and saying, well, this worked, but then it didn't. And this worked, but then it didn't. If something's working and then not working, it doesn't work. So just get with somebody who's a professional and knows what works, and just do it right from the beginning.
You're kind of smart.
Oh, thank you.
Well, thanks. Sometimes. I'm going to give you a solid sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my take home, you guys, you're going to have to decide at some point. I don't care what obstacles are in front of you, how long it takes. You have to understand that you're worth it. You need to know that you're going to come into obstacles. Not every day is going to work out. You're never going to meet all your expectations. But at some point you have to decide to just take this and say, I'm going to go after it. Or honestly, this may be extremely controversial, but choose not to. Like, if you're not at the right point in your life, I talk people out of weight loss sometimes. I'm a crazy person because I don't feel they're in the right state. And we just talk about being active. How about we just focus on coming in the gym? The only number of visits, or the only thing I want you to focus on from a numbers perspective is your numbers of visits, how often you're being active. Forget everything else for right now. Because you have to be real with yourself. Yeah. Understand where you're at and what you're trying to achieve, and then just decide and understand that it's going to be hard. You're going to go through battles, and it's not always going to turn out the way that you thought it was going to be, right? Oh, if I'm active and I eat right, it's just going to immediately lose weight. That's not always the case. I've been doing this too long to tell you that always works that way. But all the work that you're putting in is worth it. And that's the key. Like, for a happier, healthier version of you, weight loss is one portion of that. So just decide, mm-hmm. I'm going to live and be the best 100%. Version of myself. Okay. Well, that's what we got for you today.
All right.
You gotta have to finish it the way I finish it.
Yeah. First up,
you got to finish it the way I finish it.